Something everybody agrees on, from athletes to bodybuilders to old people to sprinters, is that you really do not want to get injured, because that either takes you out of your game, makes you unable to train, sets up life complications, or just a mixture of all three. Luckily, there's many things you can do to help reduce the probability of you getting those injuries that you can just do in the gym and in your own home. While you're lifting or doing daily activities, one big factor that can help you reduce your injury is actually the activation of your proximal stabilizer muscles. The muscles in your hips are strong and your rotator cuffs are strong. It's going to make it a lot less harder to have very serious injuries in these areas, and you're also going to move better, which just helps you with your daily activities, reduce injuries, etc. If you want to start training these muscles, you don't have to go balls out to failure, just have to start stimulating them a bit and progress them over time. Luckily, there's many ways you can hit all of these muscles. And to bounce off of that for a second thing, you also want to train your deep core muscles for a very, very similar idea. These are muscles like your multifidus. These just help keep you braced, so when you're lifting, again, you keep your load even, it makes it harder to get injured, and add unnecessary fatigue to your spine. There's several exercises out there that you can do, and also practicing good breathing while you're lifting at some intensity. Before I tell you about number 2, I want you to think in your head. You have muscles and bones, and the goal of your muscle is to move your bone. But there has to be something that your muscle acts on to make that bone move. That is called your tendons. If your tendon can't take the load because your muscles are too strong, your tendon's too weak, you're doing things too fast for what you can handle, etc., you have a recipe for injury. Luckily, the easiest way to strengthen your tendon is just by doing isometric exercises, which can literally just look like going into a calf raise, then flexing your knee like this and holding this for 20 to 30 seconds and getting a good stimulus on that tendon to grow and strengthen. And if you're more in the bodybuilding and muscle building ring, you could actually use that same isometric for doing an exercise like a leg extension or a squat, and then it's pre-fatigued, and you're also going to help get more motor recruitment in that next set. My third one is to be aware of your body and not overtrain. You start to feel stuff in your back, either it's sign you need to fix your form or that you're overtraining. So by making sure you're doing the proper amount of training with proper form, you can help keep those loads off of your spine that help accumulate injury over time. When you have movements like a bench press where it feels weird on your shoulder, you need to try to find a way to substitute that movement instead of powering through it. And then once you can get through it where this doesn't feel like it's tweaking anymore, you can then go back to it. Big point of these 3 things you can do in the gym is that you need to manage yourself and your fatigue. You need to give your tendons a reason to be stronger, and you also need to not forget about what keeps you stable, because if you're unstable while lifting, you're more likely to get injured. If you're unstable in your sport, you're sure as hell more likely to get injured. If you're an older person and you're just trying to walk upstairs and you're more unstable, that makes you a lot more likely to fall and injure your hip. There's a lot of really, really big reasons you need to do those 3 things while you're in the gym, but there's also things you can do at home, because all those gym stimuli are great. However, if you don't actually have the nutrients, the material to make them happen after, then you just did them for nothing. If you want your tendons to grow, they're made primarily of collagen. You need collagen, and then you need vitamin C, as that helps with the shuttling and making of the collagen. And that's easy to get, so you can just eat a lot of proteins. You can have collagen peptides if you really, really, really need them. And you can just eat a bunch of fruits to get in that vitamin C, or sometimes vitamin waters and stuff if you really, really have to, because vitamin C is easy to find because it's water soluble. You also need to make sure that you're not one of those low to no carb people. If you're doing active work in the gym or in sports, you are using your muscles' glycogen storage a lot. And if you want them to recover faster, recover better, and come back stronger, you really, really need to replenish those glycogen stores, which is really only done by eating carbohydrates. You don't need to eat a ton of fruit, a ton of rice, a ton of everything. You just need to make sure that you are having enough, and it's not a low to zero carb diet, because that will really, really set you back. When you have that nutrition piece figured out and you have those stimuli for your tendons, you're in the right muscles, you're in a really, really good spot to help yourself prevent injury. But one thing you might be asking is, what if I want my bones to break less? This is where it gets a little more interesting. You can actually stimulate further bone growth by just doing more intense activities, which is stuff like sprinting, jumping, playing your sport, etc. So when you're doing this, you're actively creating little breaks in your bones, which is great because it's a stimulus for them to grow. This is something you really want to follow you into when you're older. So what you need to do to make sure that your bones are not accumulating all the fatigue and everything I've been telling you to do from before, you need to make sure you're getting in enough vitamin D and enough calcium. So when you factor in everything from having bone growth stimulated the right way, having your tendons stimulated the right way, having your stabilizers develop, and just getting in all the big nutritional markers, vitamin C, D, calcium, protein, and enough carbs, are going to be well on your way to doing what you can to prevent injuries, especially ones that are in the gym or just from daily activities in your life. If you want more content that's easy to follow like this, subscribe for more.